rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, as the great goldenrod philosopher once said, here we go again. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. Glad to be with you all. Thanks for carving out a couple hours to hang with us this week and talk Star Wars. Of course, we are your source for the Force and so much more. An absolute banger of a show coming up for you this week. We're going into the cantina with a rare conversation with an ILM legend, Stuart Ziff. He was there from the very beginning, going all the way back to 1976, and working with ILM on the very first film, and then continuing that work throughout the entire original trilogy, and then going on to do great stuff on films like Ghostbusters and Dragonslayer. But, of course, we're going to be talking to him all about his experience working on the original Star Wars. It's going to be great. Also, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars Visions Season 3. I believe Jimmy Mack has gone all the way through the latest season. We'll get his thoughts on that. Plus, if there's time, Star Wars and pop culture, an outrageous, unthinkable story of the week, and you never know what else might be popping up here on RFR. And by RFR, if introductions are in order, I mean that's me. My name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. I'm so happy to be back here for another episode of Rebel Force Radio, especially this one. We have Stuart Ziff joining us in the cantina, and I'm really excited to talk to Stu about all of his early experiences with ILM and the original trilogy, because this is a source of information that has been left relatively untapped up till this point. Stuart Ziff hasn't been regularly appearing in documentaries and convention stages and things like that. So this is some fresh meat for old RFR to have in the cantina, and we're looking forward to sitting down with Stuart because we know he's going to have a lot of great stories to tell us from those early days of Star Wars all the way through Return of the Jedi, and how his profile raised along the way. His contributions grew along the way. Once the original trilogy came and went, he was made head of the creature shop of Ghostbusters, for crying out loud. So this guy knows a lot about making quality franchise stories come to life on the silver screen. Plus, yeah, Jason said I'm going to review Star Wars Visions Season 3. Jason said I went through all of it. I still have like an episode and a half left.
Well,
so you're going to hear my
first.
You're going to hear my first blush reactions to the anime Star Wars Visions Season 3. But before we get all of that, I want to tell you, Jason, a little something about an RFR Boys Night Out that happened earlier this week here in Chicago. By RFR Boys, I mean myself, Billy Mack, the mastermind behind Puppet Lando, Tyler Page, the mastermind behind things like the RFR Switchboard, and Dylan Mack, my son, the great Dylan McInerney. We went to Garcia's Chicago to see a band that featured former Jefferson Starship bass player Pete Sears. Why is that important to listeners of Rebel Force Radio, the Star Wars podcast? Well, Pete Sears is Star Wars canon. If you consider the Star Wars Holiday Special to be canon, Pete Sears appeared in the Jefferson Starship song, video, hologram, whatever you want to call it, that I think it was Itchy Baca, Chewie's grandfather. Did he watch that, or did the kid Lumpy watch the band play? I can't remember now. There were three moments.
It was the kid, yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't? Maybe it was Itchy, because didn't the kid watch the acrobatics? But then Diane Carroll was the one.
Yeah,
that
Grandpa was watching Diane.
Yeah, on the Skinamax version, the holographic Skinamax of the Star Wars universe. And then, but there were two other segments. There was one with the acrobatic gang, and then there was another one with Jefferson Starship performing a music video, Set the Sky on Fire, which can be heard on Jefferson Starship's album Gold, which is mostly a best-of album with a few unreleased tracks, and Set the Sky on Fire apparently is one of them. Not one of Jefferson Starship's greatest songs. It's not going to...
Hey, but it had Star in the title, right? So they had to do it.
So they put them in there.
That's about as much thought as they put to it, I'm sure.
So we saw Pete Sears with this all-star band at Garcia's Chicago, this great new venue owned by, it's part of the Garcia family, the Jerry Garcia family provisions, and another guy named Pete Shapiro out of New York, a rock music promoter. They have a Garcia's in New York. Now they have one in Chicago. And I saw this great band with Pete Sears from Jefferson Starship playing bass. And the band's name itself even has a Star Wars connection. They were called Skeleton Crew.
Oh, no way.
Crew.
Wow.
Yes. Skeleton Crew with an E. Okay, just to set it apart.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so you know, if you didn't show up, like Jude Law wasn't going to be up there taking a harmonica solo or anything. It was Skeleton Crew. But still, I dug it, and Pete Sears put on quite the display of bass playing the whole night. I think Tyler Page said at the end of the night, that guy was probably the best bass player I've ever seen live. And he was in an all-star band of some of the greatest music performers I've ever seen in my life. And that all happened in Chicago. I was hoping I'd have the opportunity to kind of rub elbows with Pete at some point in the evening and get a little talk out of him concerning the Star Wars Holiday Special, but it wasn't meant to be. However, Pete Sears did appear in the documentary from a couple of years ago, the Holiday Special documentary, A Disturbance in the Force, of which RFR's Kyle Newman himself was actually a producer on. And Kyle may have conducted a lot of the interviews, including the one with Pete Sears from the documentary. So we have a little clip here, an audio clip of Pete talking about Jefferson Starship's involvement in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
We recorded this song, Light the Sky on Fire, with Marty Balin singing. And he was the main singer because Grace was in rehab. So we went ahead and ended up on the Star Wars Christmas Holiday Special. It was Christmas Special, we called it at the time. And none of us really knew what was going on, but we ended up playing there. I remember we were rehearsing at Grace's house over in San Francisco, overlooking the bay, this beautiful house. And Darth Vader came by, it was like a publicity thing. Came by and took some photographs, and we got some photographs of us hanging out with Darth Vader. So we had some relationship already. Of course, I didn't really know what to expect. It was a trip. I remember a little bit about it. I remember they let us loose in a room full of props, like a costume room kind of thing. They said, just try and make up an outfit. No direction, really, just individually make up anything you want. And as long as it looks like it's from another galaxy or something, or from the future.
Yeah, just have at it with the old costume trunk here from.
I wonder how common
Wars.
that practice was throughout the production of the original trilogy, where they just threw a bunch of musicians in a room. Yeah, throw them in a room and say, help yourself to whatever you want to make yourself look Star Wars-y, okay? And so, it was a lot of tassels and fringe and very 70s things, really.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't feel so spacey as much as it felt disco 70s.
Yeah, George was not
Jefferson
avoiding fashion with the holiday special as he claims he was with the original trilogy.
Not whatsoever. So we saw Pete Sears perform live in Chicago, and he was absolutely astounding to watch on the bass guitar. And it's an all-star band. They have limited dates still left in their tour, so if you have the chance, check out Skeleton Crew with an E. They might be coming to a music venue near you. And when you go there, not only will you hear killer jams, but you'll also be in the presence of legitimate Star Wars canon in Pete Sears himself. And I mean, let's just face it, the man is a musical legend too. He's played with so many great bands, from Jefferson Starship to Hot Tuna to the David Nelson Band and beyond. He's one of my all-time favorites. And another Stu, we'll be talking to one Stu later in the show as we talk to Stuart Ziff, but our old friend Stu Levy from Rancho Obi-Wan is the guy who actually turned me on to Pete Sears through his performances with the David Nelson Band. And when I would pay visits to Rancho Obi-Wan to do things like some of our live fundraisers we would do on YouTube, or just to even visit Steve Sansweet and the gang, I would go with Stu to local Bay Area venues to see some of these musicians play, some of the musicians in Skeleton Crew and Pete Sears himself. And Pete gets more energetic and plays in with much more of an intense fashion the older he gets. I mean, the guy's
that's awesome.
He's in his late 70s, and he's not holding back. He's still kicking ass, and like I said, he's legitimate Star Wars canon.
Yeah. Well, something that is not Star Wars canon, legitimately, but certainly is part of what Star Wars fans might be talking about these days, is Star Wars Visions Season 3. I have not been able to sit down and watch it, which is annoying because I have a kid that is just so into anime, and I've tossed this out, and we're going to get to it.
So I see what's happening here is that you are withholding your viewing of it because you want to sit down and watch it with your your anime offspring.
It's more fun when you have, you can enjoy it with somebody else. And,
but you know what happens though is you never end up seeing what you actually want to see because you sit around waiting for schedules to sync up. So I told my family a long time ago, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm watching it the second it drops. You guys are on your own, okay?
Well, I've been that way with
podcast here, you know.
Yeah, I've been that way with the stuff that is what I would consider really important. But Visions, it definitely has its fans. I gotta admit, like it doesn't call to me, but the fact that we're going to talk about these episodes, the fact that some of these are sequels to Volume 1, Season 1, that is what has intrigued me, because that did make an impression on me. And the fact that these are all anime style, whereas Season 2 or Volume 2 kind of traversed a lot of different styles, whereas Season 3 is like Season 1 or Volume 1, where they kind of stick to the big anime studios. So, Jim, the first episode here, The Duel Payback, this we find our Jedi Ronin, which, by the way, I actually have the Black Series figure. I should have brought him out. Yeah, wow. So I got a hold of that. So I do have some attachment, I guess, to this. It's a great character design. But anyway, so with the help of some unexpected allies, our Ronin faces off against his greatest foe, a twisted Jedi known as the Grandmaster, who is bent on revenge. This was one of the most popular characters introduced by Visions. How does the sequel hold up?
Well, I mean, it has the same impact of the original. It's extremely well done, great animation, great sound. The soundtrack is exceptional, and it's beautifully created. The thing is, though, is that they just drop you right into the story, and it doesn't give the characters any time to establish themselves. It doesn't give their motivations any time to make any sense. So there's no context. And I think as a result, as somebody who really prioritizes storytelling, I'd have to say the story falls flat, despite the fact you're presented with this excellent eye candy, this beautifully animated tale, or what there is to say about a tale, about this Ronin Jedi. It's exactly what you would expect if you saw Star Wars Vision Season 1, Episode 1, the Duel. This is the follow-up to that. It commits great crimes for Star Wars. It continues the great crime, I should say, of this lightsaber to the midsection being nothing more than a flesh wound.
No.
You get it presented in this episode the dual follow-up, dual payback, you get the lightsaber right through the gut, and it's just like pull the saber out and continue battling. It didn't even affect the story whatsoever. I don't understand this insistence from Lucasfilm on trying to prove that this is a thing, that characters can take a lightsaber blade right to the midsection, and in the case of the Ronin Jedi, it didn't even slow him down. And also, it never offers any it doesn't act as a storytelling device in any way, shape, or form. But yet we've seen Lucasfilm pull this off now 4 times. Lightsaber to the midsection happened to Reva, the nonsensical inquisitor from Kenobi. And there was no repercussions nor any impact on the story as a result of that happening. Why? Then it happened twice in Dave Filoni's Ahsoka Season 1. Twice. Did it happen twice in Season 1? I know it happened to Sabine once.
Sabine, yeah.
I'm sorry. I take it back. It happened twice in Kenobi.
Because it was the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor.
You're absolutely right. But, I mean, why continue? And then now it's happening a 4th time with the Jedi Ronin in Star Wars Vision Season 3. I wouldn't have a problem with this if there was some sort of payoff to the story itself, but it just seems to completely violate the rules of physics regarding lightsaber dueling in the Star Wars universe for no apparent reason.
And what happened? Did Qui-Gon Jinn miss that day in Jedi school of how to come back from a lightsaber to the gut?
At least in the Ronin Jedi, it looks like it's off to the side just slightly, but still, I mean, a lightsaber in there would incinerate all of your internal organs. It would fry you alive from the inside out like a pack of Jiffy Pop.
I mean, they were.
I should say,
in Phantom Menace, they were cutting through metal doors with the lightsabers. I mean,
and causing all of the metal and the mechanics within that door to melt, to completely become liquid metal. I mean, what do you think was going to happen if you plunge one into a human being? It's going to melt their insides. But yet Lucasfilm is insistent on this, and I don't understand the reason why. Never once has it come to play in the story at all. It just seems to make things like go away, to make storytelling easier for the writer. But then why introduce those elements that you need to get away from in the first place? It's the sloppiest, crappiest fiction I've ever experienced in my life. I'm like really getting to the point where I'm gonna puke. I'm so disgusted from this violation of the integrity of a key element of Star Wars storytelling, and that key element is the lightsaber. This lightsaber is your life. Hey, guess what? Ewan McGregor wasn't just talking to Hayden Christensen in that scene from Attack of the Clones. He was talking to us as an audience, and we believed him. We appreciate, accept, and respect the integrity of the most incredible weapon ever introduced in the history of cinematic storytelling. I mean, and you're going to say this is a hill I'm going to die on? Hell yes, it is. And somebody needs to slap Lucasfilm upside the head. I don't know if it's Dave Filoni who's doing this. It could be, because it appeared in his production in the Ahsoka thing with Sabine. At least Sabine had to go into a Bacta tank, and there was some kind of repercussions on that. The other stories, there's like, it's like a mosquito bit them on the arm. A lightsaber being plunged into their midsection. It's just, it's horrible. It's awful.
It's definitely a head scratcher. I'm disappointed to hear that it showed up again in this. I mean, the only good news, I guess,
I can't believe it. You should be in the room with me when I'm seeing this for the first time. I mean, it's just the whole environment turns into rage. I mean, it's just like rage. But I'll tell you, there are good things about this Ronin Jedi thing. There's Ewoks in it.
Oh, okay.
And Ewoks are actually incorporated into this short in a very effective fashion, I believe. So I enjoyed seeing the Ewoks just recently on one of the RFR shows. I don't know if it was here or on Patreon. I was lamenting the fact that Ewoks, despite the mainstream has a strong knowledge of what the Ewoks are. They've never really made a return to modern Star Wars storytelling outside of briefly seeing old man Wicket with his kid at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
And he looked weird too, by the way. They both looked weird.
Did they get like episode 1 Yoda-fied?
A little
like
bit, yeah. I mean, I would say that it's equivalent to that. It was just off. It was just off. I don't know. There was some real great attention to detail in the sequel trilogy that was really cool. I think about the reproduction of the Death Star 2 and some of those shots in Rise, but or The Last Jedi. Which one was it? God, they all just float together. Where were they on Death Star? I'm talking about when they go back to
the Rise of Skywalker
in the sequels. The Rise of Skywalker.
Right, and they have the remains of the Death Star on a planet called Kef Bir. It's not even Endor.
It's not. Right. Well, Endor was a moon, and there's a whole thing. Sometimes they use a lot of attention to detail, and sometimes they don't. All right, let's move on to The Ninth Jedi. This is also a follow-up to...
Oh, no, we forgot
volume
2. We forgot episode 2, The Song of Four Wings.
Oh, that was episode 2 for me. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll go off of this.
2.
The Song of Four Wings. All right, so this is an original story. A princess turned rebel protects a child from the might of the Empire on a snowbound planet. Ooh, snowbound. Do we get a snow bunny in this one? Like we had Snow Bunny Padme?
Oh, my God. I can't believe you just said that. I cannot believe you said Snow Bunny.
But I'm not the only one that said that like Snow Bunny Padme.
Okay, but I'm not talking Snow Bunny as in the female form. But I can't believe you said that because there is a cute rabbit creature that appears in this episode. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I was like, whoa, so what does Swank know about this? But here are my notes, okay? I'm just going to go through this rapid fire. And stop me if you feel like I need to be stopped. Princess sent on a mission by Ackbar. Okay, it's not Princess Leia. It's just some other princess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Princess sent on a mission by Ackbar. The episode has lame sci-fi music, like an episode of Buck Rogers, and exactly what Lucas would avoid. When I say Buck Rogers, I mean Buck Rogers in the 25th century from the 70s, with Gil Gerard and "What's up, Buck?"
Twiggy.
Princess and Droid meets rabbit creature named Wumpus in a burned-out village, and Wumpus creates origami. I know, exciting, right?
Yes.
Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Snow troopers attack. Imperial snow troopers attack. So obviously this is Imperial era.
Right.
And it's cool to see snow troopers, but when the cute rabbit attacks back with his slingshot, the threat of the snow troopers immediately becomes diminished. I mean, in other words, it's cutesy and lame. It's cutesy. I don't like cutesy Star Wars. And
but you
anime,
get that with this anime. I mean, that's part of some of the styles is that cutesiness.
That cutesiness.
I like the snowtrooper aspect. That's cool.
Absolutely. Loved seeing the snowtroopers in animated form. Plus, AT-ATs. But AT-ATs with an anime edge. They're tricked out with these super cannons that pop up out of them with these robotic arms and stuff. Very over-the-top stuff. And that's another anime thing. Over the top. Cutesy and over the top. The soundtrack.
There's an extreme style to this stuff.
Yeah, very extreme. So much so that I noted that the soundtrack music gets worse as the episode progresses and eventually concludes. Then a side note, the princess in this episode flies an Outrider starship, much like Dash Rendar did in Shadows of the Empire. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs throughout all of these shorts that you pick up on, and the Outrider is one of them. So those are my thoughts on episode 2.
All right. Then we get into The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope. This is the follow-up continuation of The Ninth Jedi from Volume 1. And we've got pursued by Jedi hunters and blasted adrift into space. Kara encounters a seemingly abandoned ship tended to by a mysterious droid. And this mysterious droid is the lovable Tito, I believe, right?
Tito, God, they say Tito 1,000 times in this episode. It's like,
wasn't that Cad Bane's droid? Didn't he have Tito?
Oh yeah, he had a similar name
Seth
droid,
Green did the voice.
This is a
for
different.
him.
This is a different one.
All right.
And who is our protagonist in the ninth?
This is Kara, La Kara.
Kara. Yeah. Okay. Good. I have that. Kara.
Yeah.
So she's looking for her kidnapped father. This is a follow up to the Ninth Jedi from season 1 of Star Wars Rebels, which I thought was pretty good. You know. So this continues with this character, Kara, and she's looking for her kidnapped father. She meets a droid who once belonged to a Jedi named Tito, right? Tito?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tito.
So Tito and Kara spend a lot of time talking about what it means to be a Jedi. Boring. It's a slog. But then it picks up. They finally confront the Marauders who kidnapped her father. And then there's a pretty cool action sequence with lightsabers, etc. The Marauders, they're defending themselves with those weapons, those staffs similar to what General Grievous's guards used in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
right.
those guards? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
supposedly
episode...
impenetrable by a lightsaber, by the way.
Right.
Those staffs, yeah.
So the episode ends with a to be continued because we know there's a limited series coming in the second half of 2026 on Disney Plus, Star Wars Visions, The Ninth Jedi, which will pick up on those stories. So if you want to be on board with that, this is a little prelude to what you're going to see in that limited series. When they say limited series, I imagine it will be another season of like Star Wars Visions, 8 episodes of 15 to 20 minute long shorts. But at least this will all come together in like a cohesive single story that we can actually sink our teeth into, because it's really hard to sink your teeth into these stories when there's really no context for a lot of them in Star Wars Visions. It seems like you're dropped right into the middle of the action and you're trying to figure out who these people are and what their place is in the story, and then you just get kind of bedazzled by the action and the animation. It becomes eye candy. It's not anything of substance. So that's why I think a concept like this really needs to have time to spread its wings a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Look, Star Wars began by just throwing you into the middle of action and the story unfolding. But to do that 9 times, you know, sit down and watch that 9 times and be thrust into a random story. It's obviously it's disjointed by design, but it's just maybe a little too disjointed for me. Because by the time you get into it, right, and get to know the characters, it's over.
It's over. Or in this case, you're delivered with a to be continued message.
Right, yeah.
And it's just like, geez, frustration after frustration. So it is very fatiguing. And that's why I haven't been able to watch the entire thing, because I've had to do so in spurts. Because I don't want it all to be become blurred into one big mess of a thing. You know, I'm trying to let this stuff breathe a little bit, and that's hard to do. So binging Star Wars Vision Season 3 isn't something I necessarily recommend. I say if you have the time and your head is in the right space, sit down and give 1 or 2 shorts a spin, maybe. But by the time you get to the 5th short, your mind is going to be drifting.
So give yourself some time,
Give yourself some time. So what's next?
Next, we got episode 4, The Bounty Hunter. Well, that sounds very Star Warsy. We have a rogue bounty hunter taking on a job for for a shady industrialist that has unexpected consequences for her and her droid. Okay, this just the synopsis of this feels very kind of tropey Star Wars. So, Jim, does it go beyond just the tropes and introduce something interesting here?
Well, yes, it does introduce something interesting here with the droid that accompanies the bounty hunter. The droid has split personalities, which is interesting because, like, it has one side of its head is one personality, but when it slips into another personality, the head spins around and you have that personality. So it's something different than we've ever seen before from droid programming, and it does create a lot of interesting situations along the way. It's mostly an action-packed story. It's the bounty hunter and her droid with split personalities hunting down someone who is essentially trafficking children. They use the ship that looks like the Razor Crest. We made note of that when we were looking at the early trailer for Star Wars Vision Season 3. And it's interesting, the villain he fights in a droideka you can ride in. You know, so like he's sitting there riding in this droideka and brawling with the protagonist. It's is it
kind of like when Ripley in Aliens gets into that mech suit? Does it work kind of like that?
So yes,
like you're controlling it, sort of.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
Very visually intense, much like a video game. But the bottom line, it's very interesting yet weird entry into Star Wars Visions. And where does it go from here? You know, I mean, it's like it almost feels like these shorts are auditioning to become the next limited series. It really does at this point. It feels like there's an audition going.
Well, you know what they should do? They should just go all the way and make this like American Idol or The Voice and let us call or text and vote for our favorite. And that's what gets the limited series. Why not involve the fans in this?
It was terribly pitchy, way out of tune. It really did nothing to impress me. I've seen this act 1,000 times before.
In Vegas.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more
Rebel Force Radio.
Okay, let's continue our review of Star Wars Vision Season 3.
All right, we get on to Episode 5. This is Yuko's Treasure. We have a sheltered orphan who teams with a street rat kid to rescue his droid caregiver and find a long-lost treasure. This one sounds to me like the most out there.
Oh, it's out there, pal. It is out there, because this kid named Yuko lives with a giant teddy bear droid named Billy, who has a microwave oven for a stomach.
All right.
Think about that for a second. I would love to be there in the room when this pitch was given. All right, I'm telling you, we got an exciting one for you. We got this kid, okay? This kid's named Yuko. You'll love Yuko. You can't get enough of Yuko. Yuko lives with a giant teddy bear. That's right, I said teddy bear, but check this out. It's a droid. It's not just a teddy bear, it's a droid, and the droid's name is Billy, okay? Billy. All right? I know it doesn't sound Star Wars, but it's Billy with one L. So that may be a little more Star Wars-y for you. And Billy has a microwave oven for a stomach. What do you think?
Perfect.
They live on Tatooine, okay? They live on Tatooine, okay? And with this kid, there's this another kid. His name's Sola. Not Solo like Han Solo. Don't get confused there. Sola with an A, okay? Sola lives with these pirates, okay? At one point in past history, Yuko's parents apparently stole treasure from the pirates. You see, Kid Sola then tells the pirates where to find Yuko because he had a chance meeting with Yuko and the teddy bear droids in Mos Eisley. So, Kid Sola tells the pirates where to find Yuka, and the pirates attack. They attack. But Sola, the kid, Sola, all right, not to be confused with Yuka. You got got the kid Yuka and you got the kid Sola. Sola feels bad about telling the pirates to attack Yuko. Yuko, yeah, not Yoko, all right, not John Lennon's wife, Yuko.
Okay.
Jeez.
Not Sola.
All right, hold on.
We're not Solo, Sola, not Yoko, Yuka.
All right,
okay.
Slow down, Swank. Quit being so impatient.
Okay.
All right. So he goes and warns Billy and Yuko that the pirates are a-coming. So the pirates take Billy, all right, the big teddy bear droid with the microwave oven for a stomach.
Okay.
the pirates take Billy away, so Yuko and Sola team up to save Billy. All right, and then the adventure. I don't want to spoil it because it's so mind-blowing you wouldn't believe it. So that's as far as my review is going to go. I'm not going to tell you.
Screen,
if
am I looking at the right character? Is this the
Wait,
teddy bear with
here.
the microwave?
What do we have here on the screen? What am I looking at here? Oh, yeah, that's the teddy bear droid with the microwave oven for his stomach.
And
that little Speed Racer character is Yuko.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty.
Go, Speed Racer. So, yeah, you found them on the poster. That's incredible. I never saw this poster before. It actually means something to me now once I've seen this. So, well, the bottom line with this is goofy as hell.
Yeah.
This thing. But the animation is actually kind of good. The characters are weird. The story is goofy. But there's moments when there's like a touching moment in the ending where I actually almost had the single tear.
Almost.
Wow, I felt it. I felt it welling. I felt it welling. And I was like, can I well this into an actual tear? No, it didn't happen. Because I said to myself, you're watching Star Wars anime, fool. But I got to say, it was fun to see a lot of familiar places from Tatooine and Mos Eisley being presented in animated form in this episode. And it was just so weird and out there. But it's like these little Star Wars elements of seeing things being presented in an anime form kind of
well, that's where I feel like the magic of this could be. We're going to get to an episode here in a few minutes where there's a stormtrooper story, and those are the things that kind of turn me on. Is if you're gonna give me Star Wars in an anime style, why don't you give me some familiarity so that I can see the interpretation? Because otherwise, I feel like I'm just watching an anime. So I'm more attracted to the ones where they are borrowing a lot and using a lot of elements from Star Wars, but just giving you that version of it through an anime lens.
Oh, you want elements of Star Wars, Swank? I got a kid named Yuko who lives with a giant teddy bear droid named Billy, who has a microwave stomach. Okay, he's got a microwave oven. You open the door, you throw your hot pocket in there, and then Billy the droid will give you the hot pocket fully ready for consumption. Yuko.
All right, so episode 6, The Lost Ones. After assisting refugees escape a natural disaster, an incognito, An incognito F is forced to confront the ghosts of her past.
That's the character's name, F. F.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
F. Hold on.
An incognito F is forced to confront the ghosts of her past when their refugee ship is intercepted by the Empire. All right, tell us all about F.
All right, F. Yeah, F is a Jedi that we were introduced to in Season 1 of Star Wars Visions, The Village Bride.
The Village Bride.
Yeah, not exactly one of my favorite Star Wars Visions episodes, but yet it was nominated for an Oscar in the animated short movie category back in 2000 whatever. But so, but you know how that works. Who cares? I mean, is that really a gauge of quality anymore? If it gets nominated for an Academy Award, we know what goes on in the back rooms and the politics of Hollywood and the payoffs that go on and how some things are just like promoted more than others. So this is episode 6, The Lost Ones, follow-up to The Village Bride. It opens with a shot reminiscent of, the famous scene from Back to the Future, Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, okay? It actually opens with a guy wearing a hazmat suit, almost 100% identical to the one Michael J. Fox wore in Back to the Future when he poses Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, and he put the Walkman headset on
George
McFly, and he hit play on his cassette player, and it's Eddie Van Halen soloing. And to George McFly, that sounds like sonic torture coming through. He doesn't even know he's got the headphones on. He gets and Michael J. Fox says he is Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. And he does like a salute. Yeah.
Right.
Some sort of bizarre salute. Who knows where that came from? But at the very beginning of this episode, you see somebody doing almost moving exactly like Michael J. Fox in that scene with a hazmat suit on that seems almost identical to what Fox wore in Back to the Future. And he pulls out the Walkman, and there's a cord, and he hits play, and it's attached to something like freshly excavated jewels, natural minerals, and so he's doing something to like electrify these minerals. I don't know how that comes into play with the actual story itself, because it never gets really, followed up on, from what I can tell. But this is
so you're saying that this is definitely an homage to another homage. So this is very meta here, where you have an homage in a Star Wars story that is an homage to a Star Wars reference, or a Star Wars homage in another film. Okay, all right. I'm with it.
You actually connected all of the. You were like standing there with the map behind you and all of the thumbtacks on the map with the string attaching it all, right. And you're pointing at it and making a lot of sense. So I like that, Professor Swank.
All right.
So this is Imperial era storytelling. Mm-hmm. The Empire has mined this planet so much. They've mined it for carbonite, okay? And they've mined it so much it's destroying the planet. There's seismic activity that releases carbonite into the atmosphere, killing and destroying, freezing everything in its tracks.
I was going to say, are birds just all of a sudden going like this and then dropping?
No, I wish they showed that, but they did show a flower. They did show a flower, just instantly age and turn into dust
from the carbonite.
And people are being frozen in their tracks like it's Mount Vesuvius exploding.
Yeah, Pompeii.
79 AD. That's what it feels like. So it's killing and destroying anything within its reach, and we have a group of protagonists that leave the planet, and they escape as this carbonite gas is spilling out across the environment, and they escape in a Nemoidian escort shuttle, the same thing that we see in The Phantom Menace when we see the Nemoidians flying around in it. So they repurpose that ship for this story. So it's old. It's an older ship. We are in the Imperial era. Mm-hmm. Now, among the protagonists that escape from the planet is the Jedi known as F. Okay, F. Obviously, with Order 66 being an occurrence, occurrence in the galaxy, she's keeping it on the down low. She's a Jedi, but she's with them. She thanks them, for helping her escape the natural disaster that's happening on the planet. And I have to say this about F. She's a very boring, expressionless, monotone Jedi. I mean, just like as dull can be personified. But yet, she is the focus of our attention in this particular short. So what happens is F ends up on this ship that's providing refuge to the people who escape the planet that's being polluted by the carbonite, and the Empire shows up in a Star Destroyer. Brilliant animation. Gorgeous Star Destroyer animation. And they're there for F. They think that these people are harboring a Jedi, and they're correct. So F gets taken on board this Star Destroyer, and she encounters her old Jedi master, and they have a duel. I guess the old Jedi master was presumed dead. But now the master...
So the master also survived Order 66.
Yes, and now the master appears to be like an inquisitor of some sort. They don't identify...
Inquisitor, okay.
They don't identify him as an inquisitor, but apparently he is an inquisitor. They have interesting saber duel and all this, but they spend a lot of time talking about the past and stuff. And to me, that kind of storytelling is only effective if there's an emotional attachment we have as an audience to these characters, and we have none outside of
I think what
Vision
they rely
season
on,
1.
I think what they rely on in instances like this, Jim, is that we've seen this story play out so many times where they go, well, we're going to borrow the investment you have from all these other characters and put these characters in the same situation. And I that bugs me. I don't like being taken for granted that way.
No, I hate that. I hate it. It's surface level. It's shallow. It's flaccid. It's without substance. And Star Wars Visions is all of the above. But it's wonderful eye candy. And that seems like that's the purpose of this entire experiment, this combination of Star Wars and anime. Until, of course, the 9th Jedi happens, that limited series coming out next year. But unfortunately, the 9th Jedi is not that interesting of a topic either. At least it's more interesting than F. F as a character, as a protagonist, is, I'll say this, F is lame, F is boring, F the character altogether. That's what I think of F. So, if Lucasfilm is considering a limited series on The Village Bride, judging by the fact that it allowed the story to continue with the sequel in Vision Season 3, stop right there. Stop right there. Nobody likes F. FF. That's what we say as Star Wars fans. FF.
FF.
So, all right.
FF. I can see the t-shirt. Well, let's talk about episode 7, The Smuggler. A smuggler, desperate for a quick payday, agrees to take on a young job to bring a wanted young prince to safety as the Empire pursues.
Okay, again, this is something that happens in the Imperial era. There's a girl hired to smuggle a member of a royal family from a planet recently overthrown by the Empire. And she is also, this smuggler is also on the run from the Empire. So, it's double the threats, double the action, double the fun.
Are all the protagonists, with the exception of the Ronin, are they all females in this?
That is traditionally the case with Star Wars Vision, Season 1, Season 2, Season 3.
Okay.
But yeah, Season 2 and Season 3 more so dominated by a female protagonist. And we know why, because Lucasfilm is dominated by female protagonists. That's the bottom line here. And they want to reimagine Star Wars as a more feminist property, despite the fact that for 50 years it's been dominantly male. And I'm not saying that is a way to exclude anyone or to be a gatekeeper or anything. I'm just pointing out to the facts and things that belie the integrity of this entire thing. So,
Yeah, I was just noticing a theme here. Okay.
Oh, there's a theme, pal. There's a theme. So I'd even make it to the end of this one because we had to record the show tonight. And as I said, I've been watching this season in spurts. I don't think it's beneficial to sit down and binge the entire season. I didn't quite feel that case with Star Wars Visions Season 2 when I finally gave it a chance. I prefer Star Wars Visions Season 2 to Seasons 1 or Seasons 3. It's an international attempt at creating Star Wars shorts as opposed to an exclusively anime attempt at creating Star Wars shorts. And quite honestly, I find anime tiresome and at times shallow. I know that's going to flood my inbox with all kind of suggestions of anime I should sit down and watch, but what makes you think I'm actually going to sit down and watch some anime when you know my opinion of anime to begin with? Right. Will I watch the 9th Jedi miniseries? Yes, I will. And I will soak it all in and hope that it tells a concise and cohesive story with characters that I can actually get behind and a story that I can actually connect with. But none of these shorts do this. All of this stuff is simply eye candy. It's an interesting collection of non-canon storytelling that presents visually striking eye candy. What I see with Star Wars Visions is the creators attempting to create something sensitive and profound, but in the short form, the audience, you and me, Swank, we have zero opportunity to connect with the characters nor understand the full narrative, because there is no full narrative. It's all surface level stuff. It's what I would call snackable. Yeah. It's easy to digest, and then you move on. It goes right through you. Nothing substantial. Once again, it's Star Wars for the short attention span is what this is. It's Star Wars for the shortest attention span. It's like a tamale. You eat it, you poop it out, and you go on with the rest of your day. That's Star Wars. Prove me wrong, Star Wars anime. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do with the Ninth Jedi, and I'm expecting a lot. And if you can't pull it off, then I'm going to assume this entire format is flawed at best.
All right. Well, that's what we think. Let's hear what you think. We got a voicemail all about Star Wars Visions.
Cho, Jason, and Jimmy. This is RFR Patreon member Old Ben Ken, and kind of just giving my thoughts on Star Wars Visions Season 3. So I knew there were a couple episodes that were continuations of Season 1. So what I did actually is I watched, I think it was called The Duel, and then the episode in Season 3. And then it was the next episode with the girl on the walkers. And then it was the Ninth Jedi. So I watched that. And then there was a continuation of that as well. And I was, just watching it by myself. And my mom comes in. She's like, what's new in Star Wars? And she's never asked me this before. And I was like, Star Wars anime. She's like, Star Wars is anime now? And I was like, yeah, which is funny because, Jimmy, I totally agree with you saying Star Wars is kind of in an identity crisis right now. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. Anime, is it the seriousness of Andor or, Acolyte animation? What is Star Wars? And that kind of makes me wonder, who is the target audience for Visions? Is it anime fans? Because Star Wars fans generally, maybe it's a younger generation thing, and I am a younger generation, but anime is not my thing. I was just wondering who is this targeted for? I don't really enjoy the show. I would say I enjoy it. I just don't see the point in it. I feel like it feels less like Star Wars than Andor Season 1 did at times. Which is funny that my mom said that. She was your generation, Jason. She watched Return of the Jedi in theater. It's her first movie. And she's just like, what is going on? Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it. I just don't see the point in having that kind of show. I know you guys love it, and that's what makes Star Wars fun. We have all of our opinions. So, chat for you guys, and may the force of others be with you.
Thank you very much. And, I look at it like empty calories. That's what it is. It's what it feels like. Just empty calories. And going back to the identity crisis and who is this for? I don't know this to be true, but I think it's for animation nerds. I think this is a Dave Filoni joint. I think he's the guy that initiated the first season. He's worked with a lot of these studios and knows people throughout over there in that part of the world, worked on projects. And I just think I really do. I think it's for anime nerds. And hey, why not? When they were pitching all kinds of ideas, pretty soon after the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm, this is just one of them that got picked up. They love it. They love the international flavor of it. They love that it could be expanding audiences into new territories. And so that's what it is. The reality is there really isn't an audience for it. We talked about what the numbers were for Skeleton Crew and what the numbers were for what was before Skeleton Crew?
Acolyte.
Acolyte. Can you imagine the numbers on this? Talk about nobody watching. No one's watching this.
And how much money do they spend on this? How much money and how many resources do they extend themselves to create a production like this? It's probably pretty massive. And it seems like Lucasfilm was out of touch with the core fan base. Tell me who from the core fan base is pining for this kind of anime short. Nobody. It's the anime fans that they want to attract because from what they understand, Gen Z loves anime, and they're desperately always trying to attract an audience that is not the core Star Wars audience, as opposed to creating things that will appeal to the already massive and established Star Wars audience that currently exists. Why do they ignore us? Why are they trying to constantly attract people who never cared about Star Wars nor never will care about Star Wars? What is this attraction with what they cannot obtain? I mean, I guess maybe that's comes down to like basic human instincts or motivations, but it doesn't do very well when it comes to targeting a market and supplying them with what they want and expect. It just, to me, is a demonstration again of the identity crisis Star Wars is going through. This desperate attempt to attract an audience that never existed and never will, while ignoring the core audience of Star Wars fans with bucks in the wallet and years of dedication and investment in this particular franchise. Why do they ignore us? Why do they ignore the people who've passed down Star Wars from generation to generation to attract a segment of a new generation that will never be attracted to Star Wars? Do you think Star Wars is ever going to give any of those major anime properties a run for their money? Never, ever in a million years. Stay in your lane, Lucasfilm.
All right. On that note, let's before we go to the cantina, let's check out what's the latest and the greatest happening over on Patreon, where you can get more Rebel Force Radio in your life. So what's the latest there over on our subscriber-supported channels?
Yeah, you know, it's amazing all the things we have happening on Patreon. Patreon never sleeps. Rebel Force Radio on Patreon never, ever sleeps. And we have so much going on right now with weekly releases of RFR Q&A. We're up to 271 episodes. That's right, 271 episodes of RFR Q&A featuring myself and RFR VIPs discussing the wars. The latest conversation I had was this week with RFR VIP Jeff Holland. Jeff Holland, everyone knows and loves Jeff Holland, and he's returned to the RFR Q&A with an original topic, Cassian and Jyn, a Force dyad? He wants to know if, and he presents evidence, Jeff does, of possible connections that non-Jedi Cassian Andor and non-Jedi Jyn Erso, you know, he presents evidence they may be connected via a Force dyad. And some of his evidence will make you stop and think. We also talk about The Hunt for Ben Solo, the Star Wars film that will never be. We do talk a little bit about Star Wars Vision Season 3. And Jeff purchased some of those great custom sneakers from Bull Airs. And the sneakers that he got, one-of-a-kind sneaker he purchased, will remind you of a very famous and well-known astromech droid. So, Jeff, I have a great time with Jeff anytime he's on the Q&A. I have a great time anytime I talk to our VIPs on the Q&A. And you can hear it all at Rebel Force Radio on Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Along with RFR Q&A, you get early bird releases of each Rebel Force Radio release. Ad-free, by the way. And if you listen to the show via Apple Podcasts, you might have noticed that RFR last week did not show up on your feed. And here we are a week later still trying to work with the forces in charge of Apple and everywhere else in the podcasting universe to try to figure out what this problem is. And I guarantee you we'll get to the bottom of it. You want to be sure to check out other podcast providers if you missed last week's show, because it was a good one. And I'll tell you this, one thing that never happens is a stoppage in our show releases at RFR on Patreon. Patreon audiences got the show without any headaches or any delays. It's there for you. That's Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. So go ahead, support Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. Join a community of the greatest Star Wars fans on the internet. internet that you'll find. I mean, anywhere on the internet, the best audience of Star Wars fans, the smartest, most well-learned, and funniest, most entertaining audience can be found at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Join today, become a supporter, get all kinds of stuff from bonus podcasts to full show video. Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Rebel Force Radio.
Star Wars.
All right, let's do it. Let's go into the cantina and talk to ILM legend Stuart Ziff.
Star Wars Cantina.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink?
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Stuart, welcome to Rebel Force Radio. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. I'll tell you, one of the biggest kicks that I think I can sort of speak for Jim here as well. One of the biggest kicks we get in doing this is talking to people like you that were there at the very beginning, because Star Wars now spans 50 years. And I think it's so important. We think it's so important when we can to shine the spotlight on you maniacs from back in the day that helped create all of this. And I say that with lots of respect and affection, because you guys were rebels in your own right, as you were telling the story about Rebels.
Oh, so much so. I mean, who would have known? You know, I mean, do you want me to start on some of the stories?
Well, I would love for you to take us, because you gave us such great backstory on you. And Jim and I were talking a little bit before the show about what's amazing about people like yourself that came out of a trade, like you were a machinist, but then ended up doing this incredible work in Hollywood in filmmaking. How was it that you were able to make that transition from, doing that sort of trade work to working in Hollywood?
Well, a lot of it had to do with luck. And it wasn't that I am a machinist. At what it was, I have a degree in engineering from UCLA, and then I went to California Institute of the Arts, which is north of Los Angeles, and I started doing laboratory glass blowing. That's little pieces of tubing, and you blow them with torches. And people said, gee, you should, I was filling it with mercury and other fluids, and people said, you should meet this guy in Venice, California, part of LA, and maybe he'll teach you how to do neon. And he did. And I bought all the equipment to do neon. And then I eventually graduated Cal Arts, and I needed a job before I was going to become this famous, artist. And it turns out this guy, Larry Albright, was Mr. Neon for Hollywood. He did the lighting inside of the mothership in Close Encounters. And he did stuff for Michael Jackson, and you go into IMBD and you can see what he did. Anyways, he was offered a full-time job, and he didn't want it. And he knew I wanted a job, so he told me to go for this interview. And I went to the San Fernando Valley at this building and sort of an industrial space. And I went for an interview at 10 o'clock. And I guess I did okay, because I didn't leave. At 11 o'clock, I started working on some film called Star Wars.
You went right from the job interview to working.
Wow. Oh yeah. I didn't even go home. I mean, they were crewing up, and it was so interesting because they had people who were at Long Beach State, and they brought their friends. Anyways, they just needed people, and they could see what this type of sculpture I made and my background, and they didn't pay me very much in the beginning. What the heck? Try this guy.
Was this at the facility in Van Nuys?
Yes, it was at 6842 Valjean Avenue. And what I would like to say, it was right down the block where they staged the moon landing.
Oh, wow.
that's
All right.
Of course.
I know.
Of
I have
course.
new information right now, right?
Breaking news here.
Finally.
On Rebel Force
exactly.
Radio.
Man, I'm glad we broke that wide open, man. That's been keeping me up at night. But so
Yeah,
that's
I
very
know.
interesting. You know, that facility in Van Nuys had a bit of a reputation. It was a funky place filled with funky people who like to do funky things in their downtime. And I guess things were, you know, John Dykstra was the man in charge there. He was really loosey-goosey as a boss and would let you guys kind of blow off some steam from time to time. What can you tell us about those crazy stories?
Well, for example, I think they had like a big water tank at the front because it was pretty hot in the San Fernando Valley. And, could I talk about this picture a little?
Sure. We got a photo here of John Dykstra sitting in your chair, as Jim mentioned,
That's right.
John here. But there's a few interesting people in the background, too.
Yeah, well, there's Richard Edlund in the black and white plaid, I guess, sweater, and George Lucas and Gary Kurtz, what he was associate producer. And what John Dykstra was sitting in front of, they made their, I'm not going to even describe equipment unless you want me to, but they made their own VistaVision Moviola. And I actually made the electronic controller for it. And coincidentally, I mean, quite frankly, this is a frame out of the Disney Plus show, Light and Magic. And my wife and I are watching it, and we stop it and go, that's my name on the back of the chair, you know. So there it was.
Nice. There it is.
You know, who knew?
That's great. That's great. What a great photo, too. I mean, you're right there in the thick of it with you along with the top creatives behind the Star Wars Original Trilogy. But before Jason distracted you with this blast from the past photo, I was trying to get some stories from you about some of the crazier days at ILM in Van Nuys.
Well,
you were talking about a water tank. It was hot out in the valley.
Yeah, they had a water tank, and then they set up like a water slide, so people could like literally, you know, it was like a trough of plastic, maybe 30 feet long with water, and people would slide down it during lunch because it was pretty hot sometimes in the San Fernando Valley, and I can't remember other crazy stuff, but what you say about John Dykstra, he helped set up an environment where everyone shared information. There was no like my territory and you can't tell me what to do, and that was just so wonderful about the place.
Yeah, you know, I've always wondered about how things worked between the concept designers, the designers, and then getting all the way to engineering and building it. How did you interface with people that were actually coming up with these things in their mind, guys like Ralph McQuarrie and Joe Johnston, and then give it life? Were you collaborating physically in the same space together?
Oh no, that was really way above my pay grade. I mean, God, one of my fond memories was we all went out to lunch at Lumberburger at the same time, and I'm sitting near Joe Johnson, and he's just like doodling on a napkin, drawing these absolutely wonderful, Star Wars type rocket ships. But no, anyways, so I was mainly making background equipment, and I guess it could have been, Lauren or Grant McCune came up to me, and the one thing I did that was actually in the film was the Death Star cannon. It was like a trapezoid, and I machined the parts to mount the motors that were inside of it. Yeah, there it is. There's Grant McCune, who sadly passed away a number of years ago. And to the right, that's part of the Death Star model, which was just incredible to see. I don't know how many square feet it covered on the stage floor. So I made the inside of that.
I absolutely love this photo that you have. I mean, this is, I don't know if this is foam core or, styrene, whatever this is, but it's just amazing to look at what became, that infamous weapon of the Death Star with the cannons inside. And here you see it, you see the bolts and the nuts and the screws.
I mean, If you look, you could see that little pulley with the black thing. There were stepper motors. That's it. That they're, you know, they didn't even have computerized systems then. This was my understanding. They actually would just like turn a knob and something memorized how many pulses. And when you gave pulses to a stepper motor, it would like turn so many fractions of rotation one way or another. So there was one stepper motor that caused, I guess, the whole turret to swing, you know, I guess horizontally, and then another one that caused the two cannons to, you know, reciprocate in and out.
And this is the finished product, which is so incredibly iconic. Stuart, how did an assignment like this get to you? How did you know that? All right, I got to find some way to make these cannons move, and like I'm just curious how you got certain assignments.
It's so long I don't remember. I would guess it was someone from the model shop, which was, you know, not even a minute away, walked over to me and probably said something. Hey, Stuart, could you do something like this? And I go, yeah, sure. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
so it was very informal.
It was very loose. Oh yeah, yeah. It was just very informal and very supportive.
Oh yeah, like who in particular was maybe served as sort of a mentor figure for you, or at least a real solid source of support when you were working on these films?
Well, I worked in the machine shop area, and there was Dick Alexander, who was like the head machinist, and then there was I think it was Bill Short, and I worked around these guys, and it was really funny because they would have me sharpen on a grinder cutting tools for the lathe. And I was so honored that they asked me to do it. And this was like a horrible job to do. So they were really glad to palm it off on me.
Yeah, but you love what you do. You say you started working on Star Wars on day one. Do you recall what it was that you were actually working on?
No, I don't. But what we're looking at now is my desk. And should we talk about the neon pylon?
We got to talk about the neon pylon because I never knew. I mean, as many documentaries as I've seen about the making of Star Wars, I'm going to be honest with you, Stuart. I'm embarrassed to say I thought just they were using wire and things like that. But to know that you created this neon tube that glowed blue, the right shade of blue to be able to make it disappear. Talk about that.
Okay. So what it is, the model was shot against the blue screen. What was the screen?
Of the Star Destroyer, right? Is that what we're talking about here? The Star Destroyer?
Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, you can't see, but the background behind me is, in fact, an intense blue. And when they film it, they want to, you have the Star Destroyer and you want to make what's known as a film element. You want to have that Star Destroyer against an all clear background, we'll say. So what it is, you film it against this blue background, and optically there's a way to essentially turn that background completely black or completely clear. Now, the Star Destroyer was obviously very heavy. I think it was like 7 feet long. And off the side of it, where I'm standing, a rod came out, and then that rod attached to that white line. No, that's actually a C-clamp, probably holding a flag. But so that white thing was what was called the pylon, and that actually supported the weight of the Death Star. Now, inside that rod could have been wires to cause the lights to light inside the Death Star. But more importantly, they wanted that pylon to disappear against the blue background. As I remember, they first tried to just hold a piece of blue card and light it, and it just never worked correctly. So this Larry Albright taught me how to make neon signs. So I ended up bending tubes, not out of neon, but neon it's the name for cold cathode illumination. And the tubes were actually white tubes that I placed around that metal pylon, and then we wrapped it with the same blue material that was in front of the blue screen. And when you adjusted the intensity just correctly, that white you see actually disappeared into the background, and that made it a lot easier for them to make the elements.
So to summarize, we've all seen the behind-the-scenes footage of the Millennium Falcon, and there is a thick blue rod holding it in place as the camera moves around it and the Falcon itself moves.
Yes.
What I never realized, because I've been seeing this behind-the-scenes footage since the very first making of Star Wars special that aired on ABC back in the 70s, and I've always noticed that pylon, as you call it, I would say it's a rod, but I'm not into all the technical speak like you and Jason are, so I don't call it a pylon. But, to the 8-year-old kid who was watching the making of Star Wars on ABC in the 70s, that was a rod. And what I never realized was that it was illuminated itself to match the blue screen, and that's how they were able to disguise the thing that was holding the models in place while they were shooting it on blue screen. So you invented the neon pylon, and that's amazing. So it's sort of very similar to the neon lights we see in the street signs and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's just neon tubing, white neon tubing that is wrapped again with this 16th inch thick blue filter material. That blue screen in back had uncountable number of 8-foot long intense white fluorescent tubes that again is filtered blue. And with the picture you're seeing, obviously the pylon isn't adjusted to the correct intensity to match the background, so it's visible.
Right.
So now, when you say I invented it, I think I think other people tried it on other films and it didn't work as well as when I did it on this one.
But you did it best.
Oh, really?
You're like the Apple of the neon pylon. Maybe others had an idea for it, but you perfected it.
Yeah.
But which is cool because up to that point, as I was thinking in my childhood head, that it was wires and strings and things like that. And that eventually became the neon pylon that was able to blend into that background.
No, it couldn't be wires and strings because, again, you had electrical wires going up, but also that pylon thing or rod could have had a chain.
Thank you for that, Stuart.
That
I really appreciate
went up
that.
And that caused the whatever model was on it to rotate.
I see. Okay, it also, in addition to it supporting it, it would create the motion of the model as well. Okay.
See what it was is that the model was fixed and all the lighting around it was fixed, and you had the camera move towards and away from the model. Of course, when you viewed it, you thought the model was moving towards or away the camera. Oh, this is an excellent shot. And well, the reason is you would have had to move the blue screen and the model and the lighting and everything else. So you just zoom the camera back and forth. See, the way to do it before we had the neon pylon, it was called rotoscoping. And one frame at a time, they would project each frame down, and a rotoscope artist had to essentially paint out the pylon or rod going to it. So this really speeded things up.
I mean, were you just sort of known as the guy to call when they had problems with the neon pylon? Was when we're talking about the first film that was made, because you would go on and we'll talk about the subsequent movies, but were you the pylon guy kind of?
I think I don't remember that. I think I made the first couple of pylons, and then we had Larry Albright make the tubing for subsequent ones.
Oh, so Larry comes back into the picture, huh?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, hey, Stuart's having a great time on this sci-fi movie. I want to get a piece of the action.
The Return of the King.
He got me the job. I had to get something back to him,
Nice.
Hilarious.
Yeah, like I said, the return of the king. The Pylon King is back. You know, he wants his taste of that Star Wars pie.
Yeah, people like Bill Concannon up in Northern California did it when ILM moved to Northern California, and Gary Platek, and a number of people did it. But I think I was one of the first to work it out.
When ILM made the move from Van Nuys to San Rafael, and they moved into another funky building, the Kerner Optical building. Did you make the move with them?
Yes, I did. I have the notorious reputation for quitting from jobs. So I quit from the first Star Wars to go back to become the famous artist, which never quite happened. And then there was a split up, and John Dykstra stayed at that building in Van Nuys with other people, and that became Apogee. And then Richard Edlin and other people moved to, the Kerner Company or whatever it was on Kerner Boulevard to keep it a secret, as if everyone didn't know that this was where Star Wars was being made. But anyways, So yeah, he invited me to come up there because I had demonstrated that I'm very versatile and I could do a lot of different things. So I moved up there.
So you and your versatility moved up to the Bay Area and continued to work on Star Wars films. In Empire Strikes Back, did you move beyond the machinery element of things and into other categories of filmmaking?
Yes, in the equipment. Okay, they were making an optical printer. A standard optical printer had like 2 cameras in it. And they had what's called a 4-headed one. It was a big deal. So I was the one to sort of help prod it along. For example, the electronics people wanted to know how to not program it, but what type of controllers should be on it. So I would talk with the optical printer operators and find out where the buttons should be and what they need. So I was like the liaison between the thing. So I spent a lot of time working on that.
There is an optical printer on display at the ILM headquarters in San Francisco. But I believe that was something that Dykstra and that crew devised. Well, you would be part of that crew, obviously.
Well, I don't know what it is. Actually, the 4-headed one, I believe, got a technical achievement award from the Academy. So it was a pretty big deal. I mean, all that is the frustrating part of my career. I did significant input on things that are no longer used.
Yeah, well, we definitely want to get into that. But I'm curious about this period with Empire because this began a collaboration that would go on with Phil Tippett. You would take some of this into Dragonslayer, and in some of the research that I did, I know you worked with Phil on stop motion for animating the dragon in Dragonslayer, but did you do any of the other stop motion work on Empire Strikes Back, like with the Tauntauns and some of that stuff?
No, I was not involved with any of that. Phil had a problem, as I remember, with the dragon, that it had these wings, and how do you reach under to animate that part in the stop motion puppet. So anyways, we came up with the Go Motion Figure Mover or Dragon Mover. And I actually got a technical achievement award from it.
I was going to say, you got an Oscar. You got an Academy Award for that. Wasn't it from the Academy?
Oh, yes. It is.
It was the Academy.
There's an Oscar, there's a metal plaque, and then there's a piece of paper. And I got the piece of paper. So,
well, you know what? I never even got a piece of paper, but I do have a photo here of some of the folks with Dragonslayer, and I had assumed because of that work that you did with Phil on that film that perhaps that it was a carryover from what you might have done on Empire, but I think you were about to go into some of the other stuff that you did on Empire in addition to the optical printer.
Well, I think that I must say, I don't remember, unless I listed to you, I just don't remember right now. I was sort of the guy who could float around and fix problems because I have such a diverse background with engineering. And so I guess it was the Go Motion machine I worked on, the optical printer, which took a lot of time. I must say I don't remember other stuff right now.
Well,
But
that's okay.
it was
You
just
got-
a wonderful working there.
You got plenty of amazing stuff, but the leap that you made then into Return of the Jedi, where you ended up in the creature shop. Now that's a pretty cool turn, because you're going from, neon pylons to now making these creatures glisten with slime, making characters like Cy Snoodles, making her lips move. What kind of, how did you make that move from, being the nuts and bolts guy to being the latex and foam and slime guy?
Well, I didn't work with the latex. There were other people. I was still a mechanism builder there.
Okay.
Right.
The
I
gears
worked
and the
other people.
motors.
Yes, the gears. Well, there we in general, those are all puppeteered. So there'd be cables, like bicycle cables, going to puppeteers off that might go up and cause, like Admiral Ackbar's eyes to blink or to move. Like, I machined Admiral Ackbar's eye right there out of 3-inch diameter plexiglass. And more significantly, I made the eye blink mechanism. And the reason why I say it's significant is that the eye wasn't spherical. It was ellipsoid. It was like a spinning oval. So that means the eyelid, in order to ride on the surface, had to be like a human eyelid, where it sort of stretches and gets, longer and smaller, shorter, depending on the curve. And that really worked out well. Of course, I think George then replaced it with a digital one, but what can you do?
A digital blink.
I'm very proud of that.
I don't have any knowledge of George Lucas doing any digital work to Admiral Ackbar. Did I miss something there?
Well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think
he did make the Ewoks blink. He made Greedo blink, I believe.
Yeah.
But you already nailed it with Ackbar. You made him blink. I don't know that George had to redo the Ackbar blink.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure then. I forget which ones. So yeah, I would make like the lips on we'd call it Snooty, but what was that one?
Yes.
Cy Snoodles.
Yeah, I made the lips work, and Yees, I made the 3 eyes blink. Yeah, there it is.
Well, definitely George Lucas did a CGI number to old Snooty, because
maybe that's
all of
what
the
it
puppeteering,
was. Okay, yeah.
All the puppeteering work completely was removed from the special editions, and Snooty became, I believe she became 100%
fully digital.
graphic.
And for my money, it's not even close. But, again, this is right here. Now, Jim's got a couple of years on me, so, Jim is about, the Cantina and seeing the Cantina. I was just a few years later, and this was my Cantina moment. This was my mind-blowing 6-year-old moment of seeing Jabba's denizens, in Jabba's palace. So just, hugely influential on me. And, so I was always sad to see that work go from the original film.
As a creator, how do you feel about that when your work gets eliminated from a major motion picture 20 years into the future? All of a sudden, it's like erasing history in a way.
It's part of the process. I'm an old fossil now, and I contributed to the advancement of film. And I'm very, very proud of that. And, it's just part of the process. I did my job. I got paid. I got a lot of compliments. And look at, here it is, 50 years later. It's still impacting my life and people. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's probably the best, most healthiest approach to take. And of course, in all reality, with Star Wars, nothing ever goes away. There's rumors out there that the original trilogy may be coming back in its original form for the 50th anniversaries, which will be coming up here in the next few years. So we might see some of that being reinstated, but it's always available. It's always out there for people who want to see it. And there's that charm and nostalgia factor, yes. But I do think it's a very important part of, as you said, your contributions to the development of film advancement, motion picture film advancement. I think that should be immortalized, quite honestly, and not erased and painted over in any way, shape, or form. So I think there's a place for both versions to exist, and I think both versions should exist.
Well, you speak about immortalize. I'm very flattered. People are making a documentary about me. It should be released next year about my whole career, and that really means a lot to me. It does lay down for people what I did in the world, and you could learn about it by going to an Instagram, Stuart Ziff documentary. We're putting up stuff. So
Stuart Ziff documentary. So that's the website. Is it Stuart Ziff documentary?
No.
How do we get there?
If you go to Instagram and search Stuart
on
Ziff
Instagram
documentary. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because we definitely want to give folks some direction to get over there. There's some stories, Stuart, if you could, I'd love to hear more about. You mentioned that you had something to do with this guy, Nunb, and that this was a decision, maybe a later decision that George made during the production of Return of the Jedi?
Yes. Okay. Little bit of background. Initially, I guess maybe 8-inch high maquettes were made at the creature shop for Return of the Jedi. And I guess George and I forget who went around and would look at him and go, okay, this one's a foreground creature. That means it's going to be puppeteered and the eyes blink and maybe the cables to make the cheeks move. And this is an intermediate. Oh, that one's a background one. We're basically going to put it on a stick and wiggle it. Okay, so I'm on location in London, which was an incredibly wonderful experience. And they were shooting the scene where Lando Calrissian is sitting next to this character. And George decides he wanted to use this character, but it was a background one. So now he wanted the eyes to blink and the mouth to move so it could be puppeteered. So I was in one of the few meetings I was in with George. I think he even called my name for the first time ever. Anyways, because, can you do it here? Phil's in the meeting. I go, no, we can't do it here. We have to do it in Marin County. So the next thing I know, this is being stuffed in my suitcase, and I'm flying back with it from London to Marin County. Marin County, again, is just north of San Francisco, and that's where the Kerr company was. And I and several people, I think we worked 2 weeks, and it was really interesting. I was greeted by the associate producer, and he said, "It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. We need it." And this was so different because usually it's like, well, you work overtime and, you can't do that.
But George wanted it. This was coming from the maker, right? Command.
That's it. Well, it's more, it's like, you have this behemoth of a film. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars could it cost them a day to shoot? Right. So if they need something to spend $10,000, $20,000 to keep that mammoth process going, that's rounding error, and
sure.
It's great to be in that position when that is, given to me, and I got it, So anyways, we built it. I flew back, and I was actually blurry-eyed from the time change as they filmed it.
This is Nunb that you stuffed into a suitcase and flew back to Marin County with, and hastily, well, not hastily, you gave them a couple of weeks at least. It cost them what, $20,000 for them to have this done. You got him ready for his future role. I mean, nobody knew that Nunb was going to be co-piloting the Millennium Falcon until George Lucas had made a rash decision. Hey, let's do it. Let's make him. So stuff him into a suitcase, give him the stew, put him on a plane, fly him back to California, and let's make this happen. Do I have that right?
That's right.
Am I summing this up correctly?
Oh, you are. And I mean, and that was really the genius of George Lucas, is that, you know, if something wasn't going right, I think it was Dennis Muren who told me, George at any point is constantly writing and rewriting the script in his head. So when was it Warwick Davis, this little fireball demonstrates what magic he is, all of a sudden the whole thing of the Ewoks are changing. You know, I mean, he was just so I guess he felt that Nunb was the one at that instant and do it.
Rebel Force Radio.
Ugh, is that how far apart my eyes are? I look like Admiral Ackbar.
Hello, this is Warwick Davis, and you're listening to Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force.
You mentioned Warwick, and you mentioned the character of Wicket. Now, Jimmy Mack and I, we had such a great time back in May. We went to Humboldt and Del Norte counties for the Forest Moon Festival, and I got to say, Stuart, if you're not familiar with the Forest Moon Festival, you need to get familiar with it because it's phenomenal. They have an annual festival where they're really celebrating that area's role in the making of Return of the Jedi, and there's so many great people there that were just townspeople that got involved in the production. But I understand you were there. You worked with a lot of the little people actors right there in the Redwoods, and were there when a decision was made about Warwick Davis and the character of Wicket. That story has been told and retold many times, but you were actually there. So what light can you shed on that for us?
Well, okay. Whenever the Ewoks were in the forest, they were up there, Humboldt County, whatever it was, near the Oregon-California border. Whenever they were inside their village, that was a set built in London, or multiple sets. My understanding, they actually took like a mold off of some of the redwood trees, shipped that mold to London, and then made that section of the tree bark out of plaster, to decorate the
Wow.
set.
I mean, that's amazing attention to detail to take that extra step to do that. And that's something I've never heard about Return of the Jedi.
Well, then I have another one for you.
Force.
Like,
lay it on us.
The sand barge, where the Sarlacc monster was, and all those sand in the desert around Yuma, Arizona. They shipped an incredible amount of the sand from there to London to decorate the set so they have the same sand.
That's crazy.
That
is crazy. But you know what? It's these little things that went into the production of these films that I think makes it that much more special. I mean, a practice like this, taking molds of redwood trees and shipping it back to the studio, or shipping sand from Yuma back up north to, are things like this common practice in filmmaking, or is this just like a Star Wars Lucasfilm thing from back in the day?
I can't speak to other films, but my feeling about even when I first saw Star Wars, the camera would pan in some weird world and then it would stop. And in my mind, I knew if the camera kept panning, that world existed 360 degrees around me. And I think part of that feeling is from the detail you're just talking about of making molds off the bark or shipping the sand. It's just every little detail.
Well,
I think it's
the little things.
The screen.
It's the little things that creative people like yourself who work on a massive production like a Star Wars film, it's all these little things that you don't think anybody would notice. And part of the beauty of it is that people don't notice. But you have to take painstaking steps to make sure that this stuff doesn't look fake to the audience. And it's all of these little things that create the sum that create a great film.
I wish I could express it as well as you just did. I agree with you completely.
Well, tell us about this deal with Warwick Davis and him getting the role of a lifetime as Wicket, because it didn't start out that way from what we know.
From my understanding, eighth level, initially the story, what you were going to have like these four-head poobah little people, right, or Ewoks, and they were shot in London on the stage. Now, so you had the lead Ewoks, and then you had several dozen background Ewoks. Well, what they did, they just put an ad in the paper, I believe, for little people, and then those people were hired, and they were put in costumes. And then when they went to the U.S., they didn't transport those several dozen background little people. They hired new little people in the U.S. But the plan was to just, so one of the little people they hired, I believe he was 14-year-old Warwick Davis, and he was just amazing to watch. I think he was, 3'6" high, and he could run and just almost fly over a bench or a wall his own height. And I guess George saw the magic of his movement and his character that came through. And then I believe George rewrote it where now, Wicket was like the head deal. And I do remember being on location in Northern California, and here were like the four little people who were the head Ewok poobahs, and they're sitting in like child-sized little lounge chairs, and they're going, I don't understand. They flew us all out here, and why aren't they filming us? If I have the story correct, it's that George had made the decision. Well, they probably filmed them a little, but sure. It shifted over.
Wow. I mean, just because Warwick won George over on the set, he was elevated into this character role, really the main Ewok of all time. I mean, that is really incredible, and it just shows you what just a guy who keeps his mind completely open to the possibilities. That's what makes it great creative. A guy like George Lucas, when something falls in your lap, sometimes people's first reaction is to say, hey, this isn't part of the plan, and they sort of push it away. But the really smart ones know how to take advantage of the miracles that happen on a film set or the happy accidents that fall into their laps. And George discovering Warwick in this way is like kind of a profound example of that. And you were there.
Well,
and you were
there. Yeah. And I think it was the same way when he hired Peter Mayhew, who became Chewbacca, where I believe he and the associate producer were there he is with Stuart Freeboard were auditioning people, and just the way Peter Mayhew, who is a hospital orderly, the way he moved, it's like, wow, he's our man, So, but yeah, wow. I've worked on films where something changed, and the director, it wasn't in part of his plan, so he didn't change and take advantage of it.
You got to hang with Peter Mayhew a little bit and had lunch with him during the making of Return of the Jedi. Yeah. And you guys took in some Mexican?
Yeah. Well, what it is, Kurt Thatcher was just this amazing, friendly guy. I don't know if you've interviewed him yet. And he just was, he really befriended Peter. And so during lunch, we had the driver take us to some local Mexican restaurant. And we're all sitting at a table, including, the Wookiee. Of course, he's not in costume. And this whole group of little Boy Scouts come in their little uniform, and they sit and they eat and they leave. And they didn't know that they were sitting next to the Wookiee.
They were sitting next to Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's right. So, he's Chewbacca. Is he also called the Wookiee? I forget.
Oh yeah, he's a Wookiee.
Oh, yeah.
He's the Wookiee.
He's a Wookiee, all right. He is the original. So, he is the OG Wookiee. Yes, indeed.
And he was just a sweet, delightful man, and it came through. I mean, he was always you never saw his face, but he was just a sweet man.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to have Peter join us on the show several times over the years, sometimes in person.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he was legitimately a great guy. And you had to win him over first, though. That was the key with Peter Mayhew, is that his door wasn't wide open for everyone. You had to put in some serious time to win the favor of the Wookiee. And it sounds like you certainly did.
No, Kurt Thatcher.
No.
Let's give credit where
Oh,
credit's
Kurt Thatcher. So what's Kurt Thatcher's role in all of this?
Well, he was just one of the people on the crew. Sometimes he'd be a puppeteer. My fondest memory of Kurt, he was an excellent actor, and he all of a sudden mimicked me, my walk, my posture, my slurring the S sound. He was just an incredibly talented guy. I mean, gosh, he's gone on to direct and act and do who knows what else.
Yeah, I'm just doing a quick first blush look at some of Kirk's career. He was a producer on Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. He was a visual effects artist on RoboCop 2. He was a writer on Muppet Treasure Island. So it sounds like he's a multifaceted filmmaker and someone who appears is still active today. He worked on the TV series The Kids Are All Right for ABC a few years ago. Still active in the Muppets realm with the TV series Muppets Now and Muppets Haunted Mansion. Would it be surprised if he's attached to an upcoming Muppet project? I've heard some buzz about some new Muppet revival involving God, what was the name I heard attached to it? Was it Seth Rogen?
No, it's Goldberg. I believe Adam Goldberg is attached.
Adam did the previous one that was for the Muppet Band, the
Mayhem.
But,
the Mayhem.
Band.
This is going to be sort of a reboot of the Muppet Show, going back to the variety format. Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, Stuart, in addition to all the others that you came into contact with, obviously all the ILM legends like yourself and George Lucas, someone that has more recently come into the fore because of extensive interviews in a recent documentary, Marcia Lucas, George's ex-wife. I understand that you also interacted with her a bit and commented on her ring and her bling.
There's this natural tendency to sort of destroy myself, but sometimes it's okay. Okay, we're on location in London. The production office is on the second floor, and there was this balcony overlooking a street, and across from the street were the sound stages. I happened to be standing with my hands on the rail, and Marcia Lucas is right next to me with her hands on the rail, and she has this diamond ring that was about half the size of South Africa. So I looked down at it. And I go, Marcia, is that real or a CZ? Now, I got to pause here. A CZ is a cubic zirconium, which is a fake diamond. She doesn't miss a beat. She just says to me, "Oh no, George thinks that I should put this in a safe." So that told me what it was.
Yeah,
for exactamundo,
for sure. The other thing I wanted to ask is, we've heard about this, as Star Wars aficionados. I guess if we have a podcast that qualifies us, but there was some cultural differences between the American crews and the British crews, and I think you had some firsthand experience with that. Just some cultural challenges with like the talking about taking care of some of the creatures and the models and all.
Yes. Okay. What it was. So we make all these creatures in Marin County, and they're flown over to London. And one of my jobs was to make sure they were maintained properly. Specifically, you had to use like silicone oil to lubricate whatever the eyeballs, on Admiral Ackbar and things. Well, anyway, so there are these two English effects guys, and I don't think it was that or something else. They're not doing it the way I wanted it done. So I start telling them, well, I could have been that evening or the next one. Phil Tippett comes up to me and basically says, they were ready to deck you. You don't instruct them to do anything. And I go, but but they're going to ruin it. I mean, you don't understand. It's out of our control now. Wow. They're in charge. So,
wow. That must have been, but that must have been really difficult. You guys put your blood, sweat, and tears into these things. You hand it over to a foreign crew, and you see them going against some of the best practices and the things that you know to be the best way to do things.
And you did mention you have a self-destructive element to your personality that can often lead you into some difficult situations. And I imagine that happened, something that I think really set the monster sequences like Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. What really set it apart from the original monster sequence of Star Wars in the Mos Eisley Cantina from the original is the fact that those Gamorreans and Jabba, and they just seemed all just greasy and drooly, and they just had like spittle all over them. Like the Gamorrean guards just had this sort of, I mean, it's almost like Jabba. You could sort of see the mung in the corners of his big mouth, jaw, they just seem so gross and drooly and stuff like that. So, how was it? I mean, it was a pretty simple effect, I imagine. It was really more or less just touching up the costumes and the masks and things. But what was it like when you requested the British crew to go to the store to purchase the materials needed to create this effect? And what exactly is the thing that made them look so drooly and spitty?
Well, that gooey stuff was KY jelly, which is actually calcium methylcellulose. All right. We only brought so much of it from, I guess, Marin County, and we needed more. And of course, my job was to be the liaison from the U.S. and the production in London. And I remember being in one of the production offices, and one of the guys asked the driver, "Hey, will you take some petty cash and get some KY jelly?" And here's this big burly man, and he's going, "I'm not doing that." So I go, "Well, I'll do it." So they hand me a wad of money, pounds, and I walk out the front of the studio, walk down the street. They called their pharmacies chemists. I walk up to the counter, and the salesperson is this woman dressed like a nurse. And there's a couple of tubes of, British KY jelly. And I go, "Well, I'd like to buy some of these." And there was like large tubes and small tubes. And she says, "How many do you want?" And I go, "I want all of them." And she just doesn't bat an eye. She just, packs them all up. And I walk out with them. So,
but no problem, right? I mean, it sounds like an order for a P. Diddy party, but you just walked right out of the place with all of their KY jelly. I mean, how much did you actually purchase that day?
Oh God, I could have been like a dozen tubes. It's the big ones and the small ones. Because
the big burly British guys on the set, they didn't want to do it. They thought the connotations of a purchase like that could spread around town like wildfire in their careers.
Oh, yeah, you got it, yeah.
Did you hear about Marcus? He walked into the chemist and purchased 5 dozen tubes of KY jelly.
His career, my career's ruined. But you have no problem with doing something like that. That's just like a normal weekend for you, right? Yes, it's fun. I mean, it is fun. It is fun to buy as much KY jelly as you possibly can with someone else's money. I imagine that is a damn good time. Yeah.
And should I say not all the tubes actually made it to the studio? Oh, no.
Okay. Well, that'll be for the documentary, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have full footage.
No.
We'll have recollections and full footage of that moment in the documentary itself, I'm sure.
No, what this really speaks to is what it's like to actually shoot something. You build something and they say, "Oh, we're going to do it in 2 takes." And 8 or 10 or a dozen takes later, you have to do it. So, I mean, in the case of the slime, you just have to put more KY jelly. or you hope that, something that was going to be destroyed, you have enough for 3 takes, and then, oh my God, you're on take 2.5, and we only have one thing left before can't do any more. So, yeah, things expand.
Well, and of course, you would take all of that slimy experience with you onto other films like Ghostbusters and an incredible career that you were saying earlier is going to be encapsulated in a documentary that you're working on. So tell us a little bit more about that project and how we might be able to follow it, until we can actually see it.
Well, again, I think one way of following it is to go to Instagram to Stuart Ziff documentary, and just keep posted there. What it is, there are 3 people. I was giving a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation in front of a animation class of 15-year-olds, and the teacher came up afterwards and said, unrelated to this school, I and some friends make a documentary. And that started this process. They've come to my house like a half a dozen times, probably have done over 8 hours of video of me. I had a lunch. My wife and I cooked, and they were documenting it. And we had Mark Brian Wilson, who was the real actor in Slimer, not me in this film, this picture we'll talk about. And we had Bill Bryan, who was the actor in Stay Puft. So all of that's going to be in the documentary. Should I talk about this picture? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. If please do.
We have a photo of you standing next to Slimer, and you're making sort of a Slimer-like gesture, but your arms are all Slimer green. So what's going on?
Okay. What's going on? Slimer was a costume that was ordinarily worn by Mark Brian Wilson, who actually sculpted it, worked on it, and puppeteered it. So ordinarily, this would be on him, and those were the hands and arms he wore. Well, we're all ready to shoot, and one day he's sick, and he calls in. Well, what are we going to do? And I go, well, I'll volunteer. So we spent the day with me running back and forth in the costume. And again, this is pre-video. So then that film is developed during the night, and it's shown the next day as a work print in dailies. And people look at it and go, Stuart, you didn't move anything like Mark does. We have to just throw out all of that footage.
Oh, no.
No. Okay, but I got this great picture. Isn't that a great picture of me?
That's how many people can say that about themselves? I mean, with a career like yours, Stuart, and working on blockbuster after blockbuster and pop culture, giant after giant, is there one particular memory or moment that you always go back to as a favorite?
Well, that is a difficult answer. There are many unique ones because I did so many different things in my career. I mean, okay, Admiral Ackbar's eyes, that's a big one. Oh, that's where I'm actually physically making something. Or on China Syndrome, I actually, besides making all the lights blink on the set with friends, they wrote a part in, and I say yes, sir, to Jack Lemmon, and still get $6.
That's amazing.
That was about that sad movie about the famous 3 Mile Island meltdown in the 70s.
Yes.
The China Syndrome. Again,
or on Ghostbusters, I mean, I thought I was going to die. They kept adding creatures, and we keep having to hire people. But one fond memory was they brought Sigourney Weaver through the ghost shop to show it to her, and she's all done. And they finally bring her into my office and introduce her to me, saying, "This is the guy in charge." And she runs up and kisses me like right here, or maybe it was right here. So,
and I never washed your face, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many wonderful memories like that, or even, just being on location with all the Ewoks or being in London.
Right.
So,
Wow, what an amazing career. We could talk to you literally all night about these incredible stories. I'm so psyched that there's going to be a documentary. It's Stuart Ziff documentary. You can follow that over on Instagram. And I hope that you and those around you working on that keep in touch with us. So when that documentary comes out, we can let all the Rebel Force Radio listeners know about it. But it is such a treat to talk to folks like you that were there at the very beginning. And, on behalf of Star Wars fans everywhere, all we can say is thank you. Thank you for the incredible work that you've done and your willingness to tell these stories.
From that day in Lumberburger, watching Joe Johnston doodle on a napkin in the 70s, to joining us here at Rebel Force Radio in the year 2025. You've come a long way, baby.
Whoa. Well, thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. I mean, God, who would have known what this would have happened to work on these films, and then 50 years later, people are still interested in them. Just amazing to me.
And very interested in the work that you did. That's something that's a little bit different about Star Wars. It for so many of us, it introduced the process of movie making to us. We never thought about how movies were made until Star Wars.
That's right.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know anything about film. We're on the same boat on that one.
That's right. Wow. Well, Stuart, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to that documentary and hearing more wonderful stories from your incredible career.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you have me on again. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Would love to.
Well, hey, let's reconnect when that documentary comes out. Why not? I think we're just scratching the surface here, Stu, and you're totally one of us here at Rebel Force Radio. You said it yourself. You're a guy who sometimes says stuff that gets him in trouble, and boy, oh boy, are you among peers here at Rebel Force Radio. So I just wanted to say,
well, we can have a show.
We recognize.
We could have a show about all the time that I did really stupid things.
I would love that. 10 Stu's top 10 list of stupid things that he's done throughout his career. I bet we'd eat that up. Thank you again.
Thank you so much,
Stu.
Appreciate your time.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Wow. A real legend. And as you said, Jim, one of us, that's for sure.
Yeah. What a great guy. So we'll keep our eyes open for that documentary.
Yes.
And we'll keep everyone up to speed on that. No doubt about it.
Chewie, get us out of here!
All right, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week on Rebel Force Radio. Huge thanks to ILM legend Stuart Ziff, one of the guys there on the ground floor back in 1976, working hard and creating something just beyond magical for all of us for generations. So we owe a lot to guys like Stuart and his colleagues there. Always a pleasure to talk to folks like that. So we'll be following hopefully the production on the documentary about Stu and continuing to bring updates to you all here at Rebel Force Radio. As Jim said earlier, Patreon is the place to go if you want more RFR in your life. Go to patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio or go to the website for all things and everything, RFR, rebelforceradio.com. I highly, highly recommend that you I know you got your podcatchers and all that, but do check in with rebelforceradio.com. Do follow us on our socials, because when things like the hiccup with Apple happens, instead of just going, where are those guys? Why didn't they release a show? Check us out there. You'll see. We will update you and let you know. Maybe it's not us. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's Apple. But it's a great way to make sure that you know what's happening with RFR and that you don't miss episodes unnecessarily. YouTube is another great way to make sure that you're getting each and every episode of the non-Patreon releases over on YouTube. So youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. So please keep listening. Please keep leaving reviews if your podcatcher of choice allows you to do so. We just have one small, simple rule. It's all we ask. Please
make them good.
And we'll see you next week for more Rebel Force Radio. For RFR, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
high ground.